so we know that it's reading time, right? Summer, reading. What's our theme this year? Do y'all know? Okay, tell him to behave and let's get on. A universe of stories is the theme this year, which this year we're celebrating the 200th year of Alabama. So the theme around Alabama this year is the universe of stories. So because it's a universe of stories, really, Alabama is full of stories. So, have everybody been reading?
Yes.
Y'all got y'all's reading logs? So you get coupons when you read so much for food?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now, on 3 times when you're here, what do you get?
T-shirts.
I get a t-shirt. This was our t-shirts for this year. So we got the backs done, and 3 times. On your 3rd time, so each time make sure you get a ticket that you're here, okay? And make sure you give it to your mom or dad or your parent, whoever's with you, so they'll hold it for you. Make sure you don't lose it. And after we're finished here, make sure you don't pick up a lunch. Okay. And yeah, there you go. All right, so this week we have Mr. Ron Anglin from Georgia. So y'all been seeing a little bit of his talent, so let's see a lot of them now. Let's give him a hand, y'all.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good, the year is 1969. I'm 5 years old. That's all the math you need to do. Went to see my granddaddy and my grandmother way out in the middle of rural Georgia. They had black and white TV, and on a good day, you could pick up 3 channels. Guess what we watched July 20th, 1969 in the afternoon? 2 astronauts walk on the moon. And you know what my granddaddy said? They not on the moon, they just walking in the desert in Arizona. That's what he said. But I did the research, and over 500,000 people came together to help NASA put 12 people on the moon, fulfilling John F. Kennedy's promise in May of 1961 when he stood up before Congress and said, we're going to put a man on the moon before the end of the decade. And they did it. And it's an amazing story. But the coolest thing I remember when I was 5 is when they came back. You know where they landed? Where? In the ocean. And the reason why they survived is because of this material right here. Now this is the same material they make pantyhose from. This isn't pantyhose. This is a parachute. And when that aircraft was coming through the atmosphere, Apollo 11 had 3 giant orange and white parachutes that slowed it down to 22 miles an hour when it hit the ocean. And I remember then they had to put them in quarantine because they were scared they had moon germs, which is silly. They don't have moon germs. But I use this same material now to teach people how to juggle. If you put 2 in one hand, you put 1 in the other, and you draw an X in the air, this is called the Cascade Juggling Pack. Criss, cross, apple, sauce. 1, 2, 3. But here's why you want to learn how to do it. People who learn to juggle, your brain gets bigger by 3%. Now, I used to be in the Army. We used parachutes all the time. And then I taught high school. And when I was a teacher, I had a master's degree in education. I had to give it back when I joined the circus, but I had one. And there was a study that said, children who have trouble reading, 9 out of 10 can't do this. La 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 la. They have trouble skipping because skipping is a crossing the midline activity. What does that mean? Use the right side of your brain and the left side of your brain at the same time. So we're going to do a cross the midline. Ready? Everybody take your right pointer finger and make a Ferris wheel in front of you going away, go away, go away, go away, go away. Stop. Now take your left pointer finger, do a Ferris wheel coming backwards, coming backwards, coming backwards, coming backwards. Stop. Now do both of them at the same time. Forward with the right, backwards with the left. I see a lot of people going. I'm not doing this, I'm doing this. And if you practice, you can figure that kind of stuff out. So play games like this, which nobody plays anymore. That's called hopscotch. Turn 2 jump ropes like this. This is called there's a double Dutch bus coming down the street. Those kind of games promote crossing the midline. So kids, don't grow up lopsided. Learn to use both sides. You'll be a better reader, a safer driver, and you'll have a better balanced life. Now, I'm going to start my juggling routine and use both sides of my brain. I'll start with one ball, I'll finish with 5. And since I'm catching things, I had to find a catchy song. The other way. TWO or TOO? There's a difference. Yeah. Are you talking about 2 objects, or you can also juggle like me? 2 objects? That's not juggling. That's throwing 2 balls in the air and having a good time. But are some of you disappointed? You should be, because what did I promise?
5.
Thank you for paying attention. Did I do 5? Nope, I did not. So here's the year 1999. I stopped teaching high school. Guess what the school board stopped doing? Paying me. That works. I went to the Atlanta Jugglers. I said, I want to do school and library shows. And they said, how many can you juggle? I said, 4, watch them go in a circle. They didn't think it was funny either. But they said, if you can't juggle 5, don't get in this business. So I said, how long is that going to take me? Now the year's 99. They said, how old are you? I said, 35. Again, we don't need to do any more math. But they said, it's going to take you about a year. I proved them wrong. Only took me 13 months. I said we don't need to do math. Some people did anyway. But here's the deal. It took me over a year, but I learned it 2 different ways. The way number 1 is with super bouncy balls. Now, here's the deal. I got a job with Cirque du Soleil. That's the first circus that I worked for. Ever hear of them?
Yes.
They're pretty famous. They're based in Montreal, Canada. And when you go up to Montreal to train, guess what language they like to speak? French. You can try English, you're like, sorry, but and then they'll roll their eyes and they'll speak to you. But I did learn a little French because I thought it would be polite. And I learned to count. So I'm going to teach you to count to 5 in French. And all you need to do is repeat after me. They would say, repeatez s'il vous plaît. Here we go. Do it like Elvis. Merci beaucoup. 2, 3, 4. Don't lick yourself, it's nasty. And now, the last one. 5. Quit counting. 5 is all we're doing. Now, if this works, it's called 5 on the floor. If it doesn't, it's called watch the juggler run around the library. Right here on the ground, I have a 75-pound piece of marble. And what I'm demonstrating is Mr. Isaac Newton's third law of motion, which says for every action, you get a reaction. But before I do the trick, let me tell you that Apollo 15 had a commander named David Scott. And he did a very famous experiment on the moon. I was in the 3rd grade, and I remember watching it on the black and white TV in the classroom. But he talked about a man named Galileo, who years and years earlier stood in the Leaning Tower of Pizza Hut and dropped different sized cannonballs. Do you know what he discovered? Which one's bigger, this one or this one? What could the big one? Which one do you think would hit the ground first if I dropped them at the same time? This one because it's heavier, right? It's a tie, watch. And this one bounces higher because it has more mass. But what he did on the moon is he took a falcon feather in one hand and he took a hammer in the other hand and he dropped them on the moon. And he talked about Galileo. But what's on the earth that isn't on the moon that we breathe? Air. So if I drop these here on the earth, what's going to happen? Which one hits the ground first? The ball, because we talked about the parachute effect earlier. It hits twice before the parachute hits. But if we had no air in here, we could see what he did on the moon. But I can block the air with my plastic plate I was speaking earlier. Notice there's nothing sticky on the plate. But watch. I'm going to get the ball again and drop the plate with the scarf. And now let's see if it happens here on Earth. And you see it drops at the same rate because gravity is a constant accelerator. Now I didn't understand that when I was in the 3rd grade, but I remember that the astronaut did an experiment just for us kids back on Earth. So now, with a little bit of luck, I will try to do the 5-ball bounce. Now you do this for kindergartners like, you're not juggling, you just drop them on the floor. That's called bounce juggling. Now the other way to juggle is in the air. Would these be a good choice? No. No, you spend all your time chasing them. So every time I do this routine, I tell a story about juggling 5 balls because it took me 13 months. And the other people that I needed help from was a group called Young Audiences. If you wanted to do school shows, you had to be on their roster. Hundreds of people tried out every year. They took 2 or 3. The year they hired me, they hired a man named Eric Litwin. Ever hear of a guy named Eric Litwin? He wrote a book called Pete the Cat. Yeah, he's doing pretty well now. And he's a nice guy. But Eric and I were auditioning, and they came out in the middle of nowhere to see me at a school near Macon, Georgia. After it was done, an 8-year-old boy comes up and goes, "Hi! Can you help me juggle 5 balls?" I looked at him. He's real chubby. He's 8 years old. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I don't believe him. But I'm not rude. I was raised by the golden rule, and I said, I'll show you what the Atlanta juggler showed me. It took me 13 months, but the first thing you have to do is juggle 3 really fast. 1! Then juggle 3 high in the air. Watch what I do. That's called flashing 3. When you learn how to do that, then you throw a snake. 3 balls from the right, 3 balls from the left, 3 balls from the right. And if you do it right, it looks like a snake going through the pattern. Then you get 5 balls. Now I've been clowning around, dropping stuff, and letting you pick it up. Don't pick these up. These weigh a pound apiece, and I want you to hear the beat if I do it right. Everybody listening? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom, 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 boom. If you hear boom, a boom, boom, a boom, boom, it's a cool beat for Mission Impossible, but not for juggling. When you get 5 boom, boom, booms, then you go for 5 catches. If you do it right, it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Catch, 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 catch. Then you're trouble to start. But I told that little 8-year-old boy, keep at it, and after a while, you can run 5 balls. That little boy watched me juggle 5 balls. He said, "Thank you," and off he ran. And I totally forgot about that little boy. The year was 1999. Now my story jumps up to 7 years ago. The Atlanta Jugglers have a festival every year. The best jugglers in the world show up and compete for 3 prizes. 7 years ago, a clown showed up. We're like, "Dude, are you lost?" He's like, "Nope, I'm Louie the Clown, and I'm going to compete in the competition." We said, "In those shoes?" His shoes are this big. We're like, "All right, dude, you get 4 minutes like everybody else." Louis got up in front of 1,000 people, and he started with 5 balls. That's where I finished. He finished juggling clubs. Clubs are harder to juggle because you have to flip them and catch them on the skinny end. He did single spins. Then he did doubles. Then he did a triple. Then he did a mat trick we call a 4-4-1. He did a back cross. He did under the leg. He did under the other leg. He did under the other, He did the double dip. He did the rainbow throw. It's not easy being green. He did the karate chop. He did the fancy flourish. Whee! And for some reason, and I don't know why, he did not do this trick. That is not funny, that is painful. That's twice as painful. But I went to look after the show because he blew us away with his final trick. What did he do? He got a seesaw for the playground. We call it a rollabola. And he put it out. And then he juggled fire on top of it without falling down. Now I'm not allowed to juggle fire because of a book between Fahrenheit 451. But what I will do instead, even though these are plastic safety gloves, to make this more dangerous, I will sing a Justin Bieber song. Oh baby, oh baby, 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 oh, baby, 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 no. Luda, when I was 13, I had my first love. It wasn't about comparing my baby, nobody came between us, I could never come above. She had me going crazy, a lot of starstruck. She won't be up daily, don't need no Starbucks. I went up to Louis after the show and said, dude, that was amazing. My name's Anglin. They call me quite a catch. He looked at me and he said, I know who you are. I said, you do? He said, yeah, you're the hospital clown that has bad shoes. He's right. Good clown shoes cost over $300. I didn't have that for a part-time job. I don't have it now. But he said, if you'll come to my car, I have a gift for you. So I walked up to his car. He opened up the trunk, reached in and handed me my first set of real clown shoes. And I said, this is very nice. Why are you giving me these shoes? And his answer, because you helped me learn how to juggle 5 balls when I was a little boy. He's that kid. That's why I became a teacher, that's why I showed up today. And here's the end of the story. Last summer, Louis the Clown hired me to teach at the American Clown Academy that he now runs. And people from all over Canada and the United States came to study hospital clowning with me. Why did I get to do that? Because I have a great friend who was a little boy that I gave 3 minutes of my time that I don't even remember doing that came back to bless me. Okay? Now, I want to show you something else he does for me. He just sold it. They used to have a clown supply business. And this is the perfect solution for every hospital clown problem. This is soap and water. You know it is bubbles. When I got hired to be a clown, I never clowned in my life. And they said, learn bubbles. And I said, I can't juggle bubbles. He said, hush, read the book. And the book said, you have to have thick bubbles to do tricks. And if you want to thicken bubbles, you add sugar. What kind? This kind they sell at the drugstore called glycerin. A little liquid bottle, and it makes skin soft. Now, here's my rule about bubble tricks. This is a small audience. I'll walk around and do something for everybody, but you have to promise me that you're not going to get up and chase bubbles. You cannot slap a child in the face popping bubbles. Do not trip me, because you don't want to meet gravity the hard way. Understand? All right. Now, those are regular bubbles. But if you go to a store like Starbucks, I call it $4 or $5. You can get a coffee stirrer. This came off a water pick. Any little bitty straw is how I do bubble baths. So again, stay on your bottom. I'll get around here and I'll make sure that itty bitties get bubble bath. Now, let me put this away and tell you that ordinarily I don't have time to give all the bubble baths, but what I like to do is clean the whole library with extra clean bubble. This library is already very clean, but you should see some of the dumps, the libraries that I work at. Listen to this one. You ever heard of squeaky frog? Me too, I'm doing it. Now if you want to do it and you read the book, it tells you to go to the pet store and get a dog toy bulb and hide it in your hand. You can squeak anything, your nose, your belly button, whatever you want. Now why are we doing it? This is why. When children see a needle headed away, they're like, when they see bubbles, they're like, yay! So I talked to nurses and phlebotomists, and they told us that when children do this, everybody show me Hulk smash. Don't do that in the hospital or the doctor's office, because if you're doing tight muscles and monster face, when they stick you with a needle, it hurts a lot more. But when children laugh and breathe with us and sing songs and play with the bubbles, they relax. Everybody blow your belly button up like a beach ball. When you do that, you feel better and you're all loosey-goosey. Then they hit the needle. You're like, what's that? You're done. I've seen it hundreds of times because laughter truly is the best medicine. Now, we have found out with our doctor coats, and sometimes with these shirts that are cotton, you can bounce bubbles and they won't pop. Now, here's the deal. Have you ever watched the astronauts walk on the moon?
Yeah.
Did they walk?
Yeah.
They kind of bounce, right? Because gravity on the moon is 1/6 that of the Earth, which means if you weigh 72 pounds here, on the moon you'd only weigh 12 pounds. So it worked yesterday. I'm going to try this shirt. Sometimes if it's a dirty shirt, it doesn't work. But I'm going to see if I can bounce a few bubbles here. That hit my arm. If it hits the arm, it's going to pop because hair sticks out. By the way, if you wet your hand or your arm, you can catch bubbles on your skin and they won't pop. Wet your hand, you can blow bubbles with the OK sign. Okay? Let me put this down and drop my hands. Then I want to show you this other trick. I'm going to try to catch the bubble. You're so smart, you figured that out. Figure this one out. This is my magic bubble trick. Bless you. Disappeared. I'll try another one. This is the mommy bubble. Don't get up. You can pop it if it comes to you. Great, yeah. Nice shot. Now, I usually get applause on that one, but that's okay. And now it's time for a brief intermission, but don't go anywhere. Brought to you by Clowns of America. I want to tell you, friends, about an evil man who lives in the United States. His name is Mr. Stephen King. He's written some books, written some movies, and I want to tell you, you children should not be watching any of these movies yet. The kids do, and then you have problems. But I want to tell you, I had a problem when I was a kid. I was 4 years old and I watched a movie called Dr. Frankenstein's Monster. I should not have watched that. Because, does anybody know the name of the monster? Because Frankenstein was the name of the doctor. The monster didn't have a name. But it's based on a story by Mary Shelley, who made her husband really mad because he wrote hundreds of poems and nobody cared. She writes one book and all of a sudden she's Harper Lee. Right? One and done, right? And people still talk about Dr. Frankenstein's monster. She based it on a legend called Prometheus Unbound. And it's a really cool story, but it's a story. It's not true. I had to go to the doctor the next week, and I'm like, oh, I want to go, Mommy, because they make monsters. What? What are you watching? I saw Frankenstein. What? We're going to the doctor. Because what's a doctor's real job? Help people get better when they're sick, right? They're not making monsters. And a clown is not trying to scare anybody. A clown is not evil. A clown, if you see one in the movie and he's wearing too much makeup and he's doing nasty things, he's not a clown. In the movie, he's an alien pretending to be a clown, and not a very good one. Real clowns don't wear a lot of makeup. They don't try to invite kids to the woods. We are about love and trying to help children. So I want to show you, in my hand, I have a sponge. It's the same material you wash dishes with. And women in a barn in Virginia cut them into pieces, put 2 holes in them so you can breathe, paint one side red, but then you get it and you have to go to Hobby Lobby or someplace like that and get beading string. And if I put it on my nose, did it change me? No, it's like putting on a hat. It's like wearing a purse. It's an accessory. So what? I'm just going to look silly now. And my hat is silly too, because it's got a rope in it. And what I do with it is I flip it on my head like that, and I'm going to get, are you a Boston Red Sox guy? What's the B? Where's Brewton? Oh, I'm sorry. Stand up, Brewton. Can you catch a Frisbee? Here it comes. Now throw it back like that, like a Frisbee when I say now. And your goal, we're not done, is to try to throw it up on my head, so nice and easy in this direction. Give me a chance, okay? Let's hear it from my Frisbee. Now, since I have the hat and the nose on, and we're not allowed to work in the hospital by ourselves, we always have a partner clown, If there's a child in the audience who's always wanted to be a clown and would like to do a clown bit with me, now is the time to raise your hand. This is your chance to be a clown. Are you raising your hand?
I
Come up here.
am.
You're a little bit young, but you'll see why in just a second. What's your name? Cecilia. Okay. Cecilia, stand right there and just look pretty. Do you guys know what this is? This is a tourniquet in the hospital. It's made out of rubber. It's a French word for pain is headed your way. Now, frequent flyers hate these because what happens is they wrap them around their arm, then the needles come out. Little ones start blood samples, big ones take it, they start IVs. This is a rubber band, and they don't like it. It's a scary thing. And my job is to make a scary place less scary. So Cece, look at me when I talk to you, please. It's about communication. 2 hands. Hold this tightly. You're not looking at me. Listen. 2 hands. Do not move. Hold this tightly. Follow directions. Understand? And now I will tune what I like to call, instead of the tourniquet, a 1-string banjo. No. No. Perfect. And now I'd like to sing for you one of my favorite songs. You may recognize it. It's from a Disney movie. Let it go. You had one job, Cecilia. When I sing, let it go. Not let it go. 2 hands. Look at me when I talk to you. Do not move. And now, if someone can follow directions, I will sing my favorite song from Disney. Let it go. Let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. I want you to look at my right hand. I have. Stay right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. I have a postcard with all 12 clowns that are on our team. We are called Humorology Atlanta. We used to be with the Big Apple Circus, but they went out of business in 2016. We felt the work was too important to let it go to the wayside, so we formed our own nonprofit. If you will search for the hashtag on social media, you're now number 13, Cecilia, you can have that. You will find a lot of stories that I post. I have to be very careful about what I post because I can't reveal too much because of the HIPAA laws, the privacy laws. But one of my stories kind of went viral, and one of my friends who wrote a book about hospital clowning called Beyond the Red Nose took that story and is now in this book. And a young lady named Dakota who's from my hometown, and we have a special relationship. And a song by Justin Bieber, which is why I like to sing that Justin Bieber song that she really loves. And I encourage you to check us out on the social media. Now, here's something else that Louie the Clown taught me besides giving me all the nice bubbles. He taught me that balls have been thrown into jail at Walmart. And if you have $3, you can bail one of them out, borrow your grandmother's knitting needle, and you can spin it a long time. So I need 2 kids. I need 1 child to be Mother Earth, and I need 1 kid to be John Glenn. You're going to be John Glenn, you, and you can be Mother Earth. Look her right there. What's your name, Mother Earth? What? Allie. I don't need your last name, but I would like your social. Now, what's your name? Dylan? All right, Dylan, you're going to be John Glenn on this side. Now, Allie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this ball on the needle. I'm going to hand it to you, and I want you to hold it with 2 hands like this. When you get it, you go, by the power of Grayskull, I have... You know that, He-Man? Never mind, just go like this. Thunder! Thundercats! Ho! You know what Thundercats? Never mind. Just go, Paw Patrol! Woohoo! How about that? You know what? Let's be quiet. Now, John Glenn, when I point to you and say the word go, I want you to run over here. Don't hit the earth. Don't hit my sound system. Don't trip over that. Stay away from that camera. Get over here. Don't hit these lovely children. Come back over here to where you started. You know why, John Glenn? You were the first American to orbit the earth. You did it 3 times. Godspeed. Now, you know what you're doing. All right, well, that makes one of us. You know when to go? I just said it. on the word go, but not that one. You ready? Don't look at me like that. 2 hands. Go. Did you shake the needle? What happened? What happened to the... Stop! Hand me that needle. Ow! That is not how we hand sharp objects. Turn it the other way. Thank you. Don't worry, you get a do-over. Hopefully you won't get a do-over. Now, what was this? Were you in like a go-kart or? You're in a spaceship. You're supposed to go fast. You ready? You ready? That wasn't it. That wasn't either. I get do-overs. No. Ball got you. You ready? Come here close so he's got room to run, okay? 2 hands. Go. Be so slow. Hang on. I've done this all summer. I have a video camera and it falls apart. Two hands and hold it still, okay? Go, John Glenn, Godspeed. Let's hear it for John Glenn and Mother Earth. Now, I want to tell you about the hardest part of the Apollo missions, and that was a maneuver called docking. I have a Japanese story that illustrates this because the spacecraft had 2 parts, lunar module, command module. When they left the Earth, they had to separate, actually turn around, 180 degrees, come back together, then they could go between the spacecraft. When they got to the moon, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin got in the lunar module, went and landed. Michael Collins stayed in the command module. They came back together after they did all their stuff. And then when they came back to the Earth, they splashed down. Now, this toy, I was schooled on by a 2nd grader who was 7 years old. And he told me that girls in Japan play a song going from the big cup to the base cup. Can I get you to sit up? Because I don't want anything to land on your belly, okay? There we go, here we go. Big cup to the base cup. They actually sing songs. And it's all about that bass, no trouble. Then he told me if you go to all 3 cups, it's called Around Japan. Then he told me why the hole's in the ball. This is called pull the spike. Then he showed me one that's called the lighthouse. Then he showed me one called hand roll. Then he showed me one called the airplane. Now in the Army I flew helicopters, so airplanes could be trouble, but I'm going to try it anyway. Now, I know you adults come here all the time and you're bored sometimes with the performances, but I try to bring something for the adults as well. So I call this the $100 Kendama Challenge. If you think you can catch it on the big cup first try, just like I did, I will give you $100 cash. And you can spend it however you want, but you only get one chance. Is there an adult out in the audience who would like to give it $100 Kendama Challenge a try? Anyone? All right, sir, come on. Your name, sir?
Drew.
Drew, did you bring your own kendama?
No, I didn't.
I have to provide one for you.
Yes, sir. All right. Yeah, kiss the ball on that.
Yeah.
Go whenever.
You get one chance, yeah. Anytime. Oh, that's Drew. Let's have a hand for Drew for the $100 kendama challenge. One day somebody's actually going to land it. I'm going to be out $100, but this is a toy, obviously. It's what we call a sight gag. I always carry it for the other clown when I do kendama tricks in the hospital, and they've yet to land it. But kendama is a wonderful sport. If you're really good with it in Japan, you can actually go to college for free, and the best kendama players get the best jobs in Japan. It's like a martial art. Now, the last thing that I brought is my favorite toy of all time. It is called a Chinese yo-yo. I got this when I was 8 years old, and my aunt, as a chicken farmer, gave it to me. And the paper it came with said, throw it in here and have fun. So I did, and I'm right-handed, So I always threw it from my right to my left. When I joined the Atlanta Jugglers, one of them walked over to me and said, dude, why are you throwing that thing backwards? Well, look what happened to the spin. See what happened? It stopped spinning. He said, did you read the book? Huh? They wrote a book about this too, huh? Well, I found out that he let me borrow it, that I had done this wrong for 27 years, and I had to turn it around and go the other way. And when I studied all the Apollo missions, I found out that they did a lot of mistakes and they had a lot of problems. We lost the whole crew of Apollo 1 to a fire. Apollo 11 lost the ability to know how fast they were going and how high above the moon they were. Houston had to talk them down. Apollo 12 had a lightning strike and they lost all their electrical systems. Apollo 13 had such a bad accident they made a movie about it. You know what happened to them? Oxygen tank exploded and they had to rush around the moon and hurry back before they ran out of air. But we managed to land 12 people on the moon, and every time they Saturn V blasted off, guess what they had? A countdown. So we're going to have the final countdown, ready? Everybody's going to start at 3. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. We got liftoff. So once I learned the right way to do this, it opened up the world for me, and I've learned a lot of tricks, including how to play music with a Chinese yo-yo. Everybody see the holes in this one? When I was a kid, we all learned to whistle with our hands like this. Yeah, you kids can't do that. That's the same principle. When the air hits the holes, it's going to make a whistling sound. Now, if you hurt your ears, cover them. I won't do it long. It takes about 5 seconds and you'll hear the train whistle. Speaking of music, before I do the routine, I want to show you an instrument that was given to me 6 years ago when the clown who was the leader of our team passed away from a heart attack at age 44. We still miss him. But when Vincenzo died, all the other clowns decided we need to carry on his memory and I'll be musical because he was a great musician. Okie dokie walked over and said, here you go, Dr. Tiny. That's my clown name. And I'm like, I can't do this. I never learned music. He said, hush, read the book. And I found out a ukulele is much easier than a guitar. How many strings are on this instrument? 4. If you learn 4 chords, you guys know what a chord is? It's a car made by Honda. But you put 3 notes together, that's a chord, and 2 of them only take 1 finger. Watch what happens when I put my finger on the bottom string. That's a C chord. If I put my finger on the top string, A minor, drop another finger down, that's an F. And if I put 3 fingers in a triangle, that's a G. If you know those 4 chords, you can play 1,000 songs, and it's not an exaggeration. You can do simple ones like this. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. And you can play Justin Timberlake. Got this feeling down in the bones. Goes electric wavy when I turn it on. All through my city, all through my home. Flying up the ceiling with Whitney and our zone. Big Finish.
Inside my bones, it goes electric, baby, when I turn it on. All through my city, all through my home. We're flying up, no feeling when we in the zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body, it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. Come on, like the way we rock it, so don't stop.
Walk the dog. Walk the cat.
I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving so it. Got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off of it. Moving so phenomenally. More like the way we rock it. So don't stop. Under the lights when everything goes. Nowhere to hide when I'm getting too close. When we move, you already know.
That was one.
Just a touch.
This is two.
I can see but when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. Come on, all those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving, so keep dancing. Yeah, so just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So keep dancing.
I'd like to leave you with a final thought, and it was a good one. But what you just saw me do, I can't do in the hospital anymore after the security guard told me to stop. So here's how I wear the Chinese yo-yo. When a child said, "What's that bow tie for?" I tell them it's also my yo-yo from China, and here's the trick that I do. I call it the impossible knot, because when I tie knots, they are impossible to untie. So watch closely. Now my friend here with all the muscles, if you pull it out with 2 hands, just grab it and pull. See? Impossible. You can pull it out too. When I tie knots, they don't come undone because my... Learned a long time ago, it's not about me, it's about the child. Thank you for being about your children enough to bring them to a summer reading program.